right, Mindy. So let's talk. Let's
Yeah.
talk HR and people and what we're learning, what we're not learning, what we're not taking with us into 2026.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So, Marnie, just hearing yourself say that, what's coming up for you?
um that I don't know the answer and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think we've been the answer takers, the people who are supposed to have all the answers for our people and put them into the right boxes and the right organizations and know the right moves. But the fact is everything changed so much in 2025 and even before that, that I think being okay with not knowing the answers is what I'm not taking with, or what I am taking with. I'm sloughing off the need to know all the answers and going into 2026 blissfully unaware but confident that I have the skill set to know what to do as a next step. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. And, I think it's interesting because now I think in 2025, one of my observations in conversations is people are just so much more open to, okay, well, if I don't have the right answer, let's ask, and I'm not saying that ChatGPT has all the answers. That should not be the takeaway. But what I do like, especially with my nieces, I've noticed like, okay, like, well, let's ask some AI model, whichever AI model, Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and then they'll like look at where are the sources, and then they'll start like let's like fact check that. Oh, I wonder how true that is, and like oh, I hadn't really thought about it that way before, and how it opens up this richer conversation, and it's like it's kind of okay to not have the answers because like oh, we got this tool and resource, let's like dive in and have a deeper conversation about it. I thought that is fascinating.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the curiosity and leaning in a little longer. And I think that's that can be really scary, especially if you're in HR and you're a one person department and you're like one of the things that we get a lot in the community is like, okay, if my boss comes to me and says I need you to know an answer, then I need to have that answer. But instead, that conversation and getting curious a little longer, asking the good questions, that seems to be really the precipice of kind of up leveling
Yeah.
your skill set.
And what I love about that too is because I think we have to be in curiosity. I was like looking at in articles and stuff because we have become oh man, I wish I remember the word this editor chose. I thought it was brilliant. He said, we're in the time of where the facts are not always what the facts are presented because there's
Right.
so much like fake. It wasn't fake. He didn't say in fake news. He used this really clever word. We're in this time of like, anyways, it felt like we're in the time of fake news, and where we have to remain curious and have to seek to understand, where is that nugget of wisdom coming in, and what was the origin of this fake news story, and how do we go deeper and fact check, and I see that when I'm speaking with my nieces and even asking, ChatGPT, they're asking and remaining curious about how did you arrive at this answer? Is this a complete hallucination or, what brought you to this? And what a great skill set that even in thinking through with technology and being curious and not just taking that first answer, it's actually building in them already a pathway. I see that in them interacting with me, like, say more about that. How did you come to that answer, right? They're not
Yep.
just taking it at face value. They want to know more. They're seeking to know more. And
Yep.
we're in a time where we have to do that. We can't just take things at face value anymore.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's coaching. We don't, it's that coaching mindset where I think, a lot of people don't understand that. Like, look, we're going into further moments of uncertainty. We're developing systems. We're walking into a way of working that we don't know how it's going to end up. And so, to your point, being uncertain and being curious and seeing that, as you always put it, like that resistance as
Right.
signals,
Yeah.
that to me is moving in the right direction. It's getting a bigger understanding of where that resistance lies, identifying and learning more because that's what's going to
Yeah.
get us to the next step.
Yes. Yes. And I think my social work background helped me with that because I always would get curious about what I'm seeing someone these presenting behaviors, these presenting symptoms.
Mhm.
What's underneath that? What like led this person to this moment to make this decision? Because I was working with juvenile offenders
Oh, sure.
and it's about not seeing this person is so quick to judge them as bad, but actually seeing the behavior as wrong, and like what is it that led this person to the moment of where they chose to steal the purse. And for
Ugh.
one young homeless youth who I mean, this young man was he was amazing, but it was one of the coldest nights in Seattle.
Uh-huh.
One he was out late and missed because he had extracurriculars at high school. He was homeless youth. His parents weren't involved in his life, putting himself through high school, and he missed the because it was a cold night the wait list for the homeless shelter because he was at school later than usual for extracurriculars. He missed the time frame, and he knew that if he was out at night, he would, freeze. Like, he
Ugh.
knew that he probably wouldn't make it, and so he
Mhm.
had to steal he said, "I stole the purse where I knew there was gonna be a policeman, and I'd be able to give it right back, but I needed a meal, and I needed a place to stay."
You know, and that's the thing. I mean, my mom was a juvenile probation officer too.
Oh, no
The
way.
Yeah, so well, not too, but she was a juvenile probation officer, and so I see that of the understanding. One of my favorite questions is, what are we solving for? Right? So if you're going directly into diagnosis without understanding the data, without understanding the human behind it, then we're making rash decisions and we're not fixing the problem that we're solving for.
So what I love about that, I love that because I love the question why, and we're taught, okay, ask why 5 times, right? And which is awesome, but that only works so well as if you're with a group of people who are already in trust, already with you, because if someone starts asking you why and there is no trust and you don't know the context, and if you haven't done life with them, what
Right.
is my immediate response is, "Why are you asking me?" Like,
Right.
"Why are you asking me to prove that what I'm doing is right?" Like I just naturally get defensive. And when I was going through the coaching certification this year, I'm a DIY coach leading up till now. And then someone was like, Mindy, you gotta get the full skill set, which I'm glad I did
Mhm.
because I realized why is great. Why 5 times that's a great tool, but you have to have the context. What you just said all has to be the magical formula. So what do I do if I don't have that? And you have to be self-aware enough. Do I have that or not? Otherwise, I need to lean into asking more powerful questions about, how does that resonate with you? What's coming up for you as you're talking through this right now? What is your hope in the outcome of this?
Yeah.
I'm not just I can't if I don't have the context, if I don't have the trust, I can't just use the why.
Yeah.
I have to find the right time. I have to build to why. I have to meet them where they're at to understand the context, to come alongside them. It was also interesting too, like in how to even frame. I would always say, "Tell me more" all the time. I'd always say, "Tell me more," but then it's like, "Oh, tell me more." You tell me more versus say more.
Mhm.
And that switch of just this nuance of words and how that works just within our own brains was just so, like, eye-opening for me, and it just reminded me to, like, I've come to a place, I've been doing this for a long time. I was a DIY coach for 20 plus years as an HR, and then I had my social work background. Like, what else? No, there's always more to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Okay, this is interesting. So as you're talking too, I'm like, I feel like that's a big shift in the HR's coaching type philosophy, and more like I was a coach hack too, went and got training. Like, I like how you put I was always like a hack coach, but I like DIY coach better. Can we talk about coaching up? Because that's one of the pain points that we see a lot of the people in the hive
Mm.
talk about is that's great, but how do I coach up or not? And so for me, I think another one of my hot takes is I'm not taking forward the idea I have to wait for someone else's permission to ask them questions. And that's where I think of like the coaching up of really redefining our role and helping leadership teams see the forest through the trees, so to speak.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think coaching up to is coaching up is about you have to use your voice to
Yeah.
do that. You actually have to not allow the moment to pass of awkwardness. You have to be and I feel like when I was coaching up, it is so uncomfortable because you may not also have the authority in that room to actually have a voice. And so it is about sensing that greater question that's going to unlock the real conversation that is needed to see like the elephant in the room or to be able to question of like is this is what are I feel like we've lost track of what was it that we're solving for again.
Okay.
Like do we need to go
Mhm.
back? I feel like we've lost our way, but sometimes like having there's those moments of coaching up was when that question when I had the confidence to speak, uh, that was a question that you reunited everyone again, that helped people stop for a moment and pause and make, oh yeah, like what was, and I wasn't the only one feeling that way. I often felt like am I the only one in this room that's
Yes.
what is it that what were we talking about again, what was outcome here. And it's just like because sometimes I think that's what holds us back from asking the powerful questions because they're like, am I the only one in this room with this silly question in my head?
Right. Yeah.
um
Yeah. A and to your point, you know, I think it's that really taking on that product designer, you know, that you're an expert in human-centered design. It really is using that product designer, human-centered design hat as if we can harness that role on the team and really understand that, like, it's okay to ask the questions even if we feel that the question is below everyone else's expectation because it has to start somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, and often I think we've lost the art of the questions, and we've also have often the amazing humans that we get to work with in the hive also have unfortunately have a mindset of questions are less than. Questions
Yeah.
are I'm showing up as not knowing. Like a question is almost as like a failure. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm going to overemphasize. And
Yeah.
but that it's actually like and for me, like leaning into the questions, those powerful questions showed your how observant you are and how you're able to ask the question of helping others connect the dots, helping others pause to create some really great self-reflection questions that actually doesn't deepen the disconnect, but brings people together and helps create an actual dialogue. And that actually then creates that door of expertise to enter into. And so it's a reframe even of what does, questions actually move us from less than to plus to more than and bring people together. I think that another thing that I'm not bringing into 2026 is the is you know is the less than mindset. I think that there's been so much that I've been doing this year to really capture these less than thoughts, this cognitive dissonance, and to find those and to not just shut them in a door because they're just going to keep coming up and really capturing them and really seeking to understand because it's not easy to, first of all to capture them, but once you capture them to sit with them a little bit and say, okay, we're not just like, what is a truth in this, but where is the lie in this? Where is the lie in this that is not true to me?
Uh,
But what is the truth then? What is a truth that then, like, overwrites this lie that I will hold on and bring into?
Yeah. Okay, so that's really interesting because do you feel like one of the things that I've seen a lot of this year, even just in myself, but also of people in the HR industry, we have a lot of fractional out there. I'm not picking on fractional, I am one, but it is I think we've kind of created this, going into safety mode when, whether it's tech or whatnot, that kind of decreases their focus on, investing in DEI, investing in more human-centric, type of programming that we know how important it is. But I wonder if some of that less than comes from more of that survival mode
Oh,
and trying to get back to, "No, I am an expert in human centricity," or whatever that looks like, and
mhm.
it's hard to get back to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and to I mean, it is, I mean, we've been so many individuals too, like, that's what has gotten us stuck often in this less than mindset is we have become our own worst abusers,
Yeah.
and we bruise ourselves and and even thinking that, "Oh, I deserve this because
Right.
I'm not good." Um, and so, I mean, we see that, and I think that so much of that lesson voice, even for myself, is about stopping. Like, I'm not going to abuse myself anymore in my
Yeah.
mind, and
Yeah.
and I know that, but it is. It's like I'm the only one hurting myself,
Yeah.
um, and holding on to these things. And because some of these workplaces are unfortunately a lot of survivalists and founders and leaders that are all themselves trying to survive. And when you just put that together, we're hurting us, but then choosing behaviors that are less than that are hurting others. And so
Mhm.
now we're just, I mean, that toxicity, right? Now we just have a bunch of messy humans making just a big old chaotic mess. Um, and that's, I man, I mean, I just feel like we have so many within small, medium businesses of people who are just trying the best that they can, doing the best. But man, it is far from like where it could be. Like, they're trying
Mhm.
to survive, but man, like, some of these workplaces, Marnie, some of these workplaces.
Yeah, but then we carry it with us. We just talked
Yes.
about this, and then I think was it with Jen Porter? But sometimes we get battered down from a previous employer, or
Yes.
we
Yep.
then we unfairly carry it with us to
Yes.
the next employer or the
Yep.
next client to be like, I'm just an order taker because that's what I was asked to do.
Yep.
And it's like having that reminder on a daily basis. Like
Yeah.
I have a sticky note that when it comes up and down occasionally, but I have clients. So my sticky note says, your role is to improve the client's condition. And to me, that centers me of no, it's okay to challenge. It's okay to go
Yes.
back
Yes.
and step out of that. So
Right.
yeah.
No, I mean, 100 yes, 100 because we carry that. If we are not self-aware of what we're carrying over into the next thing, of what triggers or maybe triggers a strong word. Trigger is
Mhm.
like maybe just what is an impetus for
Mhm.
like a feeling that's coming up in ourselves that came from something in the past that's created cognitive dissonance. That will definitely for sure like carry over as survival mechanisms throughout it'll echo and it'll be a ghost throughout the rest of our life until we actually capture it and and bring truth and light into that dark space. um and yeah, that's like that is what I'm not like carrying over, in this year of so much difficulty, Marnie. Personally, I could stay in a less than mindset, and
Yeah,
but I
absolutely.
but the very thing that I stepped into this year starting to deal with is it has been over the past couple of years is healing through that. But the very darkness of the deep valleys of this year for me are what have brought the greatest awareness and informed like my work with hiring a grief coach and being able to not just heal from what I thought from the loss of my family member and very best friend, but it ended up through that grief work. It made me it actually dug up things that I thought I had healed from before that I hadn't. And in the beauty of grief, it helped provide this ability to reflect and stay in the discomfort and in someone's absence of a very dear person that I love and who loved me. Her death brought um, such light for me and such healing.
Mm,
Um, and in the art of saying, well, I don't feel like I'll ever say goodbye to that person, but it's also of letting her go,
yeah.
and not holding on to her here.
Oh, wow. Like, that I mean,
I didn't even think that this would go there.
yeah, but you wanna talk about taking like, a very poignant life lesson that we can all take in our personal lives and in our main roles, and that we can't take the situation, but we can take and maybe we don't wanna take the situation, right? But we wanna take what helps bring the light moving forward, whether it's a person that we lost, whether it was a role that we loved that we were,
Hmm.
laid off in the end, or whether it was, a promotion that we find ourselves not really knowing how to deal with it anymore, and or how to step into that role. I just
Yeah.
it's, I don't know. I think that your takeaway from that is pretty powerful.
Well, and I'm even just reflecting on what you're saying and how you're translating that into the workplace and the people that we have the beauty of being able to work with. They are grieving, Marnie.
Ah, that yeah, they are. Mm, I mean, there's so much grief. Yeah, and it's grief of a lot of times our workplaces are different than we have hope. We've had our hearts broken by either, you know, I hate to say maybe misintentioned
Yeah, yeah,
employers or
yeah,
companies
yeah,
and whatnot. And we have to play kind of a dual role in that respect, but also grieving what we knew and what we were working on. I think of all the DEI folks who,
yeah.
their whole purpose has shifted,
Hmm.
not out of want, but because of necessity, and that's tough.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, it goes back to then circles back to the resistance and how some of the grief might be showing up within behaviors that are perceived as resistant, and to inform. And then if we're talking about the coaching and how curiosity can help us take these signals and these data points to enter into conversation with and dialogue with employees and with ourselves, to help us, understand, what is underlying, what is beneath this, but also giving ourselves some grace. I almost think, okay, if we're not ready to ask why, because why in the world, Mindy, would you do this? Why, and I'm like, why again? I ask myself more gentler questions.
Right.
What's coming up, Mindy, for you right now in this? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh wow, I could actually take that on my own like, 'cause I'm harsh when I'm, like, critiquing myself.
No,
We're not
really?
taking that into 2026 either. I'm gonna stop doing that. I'm gonna stop critiquing myself so
Um,
much. And right, because I was even on this, I was like, "Marnie, what should we talk about? What shouldn't we talk about?" I don't are we ready to talk about that? You know what? We're never ready. It's like what you remind me always, Marnie, is progress over perfection.
yes, yes. Our tagline, "Come messy, leave elevated,"
Yes.
like, to me, that's if you can talk through something and I'll probably look back on this conversation and be like, "Oh, you dummy." Like, what what were you talking about? But, I think that that's the important part, and I think that's again, I hate but, like, with the Hive, that's why we started it, right? Was because
Yes.
it's hard to be in a vacuum. It's hard to, only rely on your coworkers or whatnot, and like having a specific place where you can create, where you can experiment, hypothesize, so that people that are kinder to you than yourself, lemon who's
That's
hard on yourself,
beautiful.
that are kinder to you to say, "What's going through your head at the moment? Like, what's in it for you?" So that you can step out of that self-sabotage that happens so
Mm,
frequently and actually design some pretty powerful stuff. So that's what
yeah.
the hive is for, that's what the goal is all about, but, that's I hate but that's our call to action, right? To
Yes.
join the hive and start
Yeah.
to have those conversations.
Well, yeah, and that was the beauty that came out. I mean, I just this morning had the opportunity to have coffee, which I love just the timing with one of our first catalytic culture, which became Old HR Hive, one of our pilot members. And just in speaking with her about and what it meant for her and just seeing her joy in, what is to come. Just even the concept of being able so many HR leaders in small, medium businesses are on their own. They don't
Yep.
have anyone to talk to. And it's not,
Mhm.
often we get topics. You and I sat in that seat. It's not
Yep.
like you're going to go, it's not ready yet for an executive leadership team. It wouldn't be healthy at that level. But, we being alone, thankfully, I came into that from being in larger organizations with larger teams. I had built up a network of amazing mentors. But if you've only started in small, medium businesses and only ever been the person of one, how and how, when I was like, I never have felt so isolated,
Yep.
or the fight and tension of time to want to up level myself and continuing, because I can only be as good as I am feeding myself while you're carrying the weight, what it felt of everything, and just trying to get through each day. And so having the time to even learn and digest it, to try and iterate, was so like overwhelming. I found myself leaning into my mentors even more and the need for that. But so many of those that we work with don't have that group of people to ask help of, and they get stuck in your own mind. And so for us, like being able to in 2026 have weekly opportunities for someone to jump into small curated team, like, it's just, and it's not an extra thing, right? It's not just another thing I'm adding in.
No.
It's literally my team time. It's
Yep.
my When I thought about it as like I get to have my own team meeting now, that is amazing, because having a team meeting when I was at head of people, when I was just me, like building something out, I was like, let's have a team meeting with myself. Did
Yep.
that ever happen? No. I calendared time to meet with myself. It never happened because
Yep.
I didn't have someone I had to hold myself accountable. But I tried, but I needed more of that. I needed to have my weekly team meeting. And so that's what I'm so excited about. AltHR Hive gets to be my weekly team meeting with my HR leaders.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually going to be able to grow, but work through an actual problem. So I'm not adding into my day. I'm getting to get the work done in my day and also learn.
Okay, so I love how you put that team meeting. You hadn't said that before. So, but that's
It
kind
just
of
came to me.
I think freaking brilliant. But so big 2026 for Alt HR Hive in partnership with People Forward Network. We are creating two sets of communities. Well, we have the community and we have the lab, right? The community's free. It's always going to
Yes,
be
that's right.
free. This is going to be a place where you can come get, our things like this, resources, you name it. But then we're going to have the lab, the leadership lab. And that is something very special where you get your team meetings. You get more in-depth resources. You get not just Minnie and me, but you get the rest of the lab people. And
Mhm.
so, stay tuned for that. It will be subscription based, and we'll be bringing more information out for that. But that to me, I am just so thankful for, and just so stinking excited
I am
for. It's going to be
too.
great.
That's what's going into 2026.
Yeah. Hive
More
lab.
That's right, exactly. Have fun, have fun.
Yeah.
But I think it's because of all the things that you said. I think that's where I think it's like those things that we can't do on our own. Like,
Yeah.
we can, but it can only get so much. Like when I was just even talking back through my own like self-thought and putting myself back in my like chief people officer loneliness,
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I would have had a hive. Like, I wish
Yes.
I would have a hive.
Exactly. I mean, you need people rooting for you. And if you didn't or maybe you did curate your mentors, maybe they're not HR professionals, and that's okay too, but to have like most of the people who entered, whether it was Catalytic Culture or Hive, is like, I want to know who else is in there because I really want to pick their brain. And,
Yeah.
and there's power in numbers.
Mhm.
And I think intimate numbers are the most powerful,
Mhm.
because you can have your hive and you can have your safe space to build and grow and also get some really good advice along the way. It's not just a complete free for all either. We'll throw out some cool tools and oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've done that before. So yeah,
Yay.
awesome.
Well,
That was it.
man, goodbye 2025.
Yes.
And thank you for everything that you held for us. I learned so much.
Yeah.
I tell people I had the most mountaintop moments as well as the deep valleys, the deep dark valleys. Marnie, you are definitely you in January 2025 birthed all of where we are to today.
Ah,
I'm so thankful for you. You are just a bright star in my 2025, and I am so blessed. It's just such a joy to be able to do this with you, and I'm so looking forward to 2026.
thanks, Mindy. We've seen some stuff. Let's go kick a little tail in 2026.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Bye.